Center announcements with Donald. So take it away.
Will do. Thanks. All right. As always, everybody, we have a lot going on in Microsoft 365. So we're going to start high level, and then we're going to get into some other sections, specifically around admin. Hey, you better get your butt moving on things, to hey, things are going away type things. So let's get to it. So the first thing I want to talk about, this is a big one, especially for the administrative side. At the Microsoft 365 suite level, there is a public preview for the idea is being able to set for your tenant an idle session timeout. So specifically, these are for the Microsoft 365 web apps, right? So we're talking about SharePoint, we're talking about Outlook Online, we're talking about Teams Online, anything that's in the browser, being able to set up that type of a session timeout. And so you can then go in there and say, hey, if it's sitting there in the session, they're not doing anything for 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, log them out. Right. So this is a security thing that you want to make sure that you don't have, proprietary information going out there. Maybe it's a scenario where it's public, right? You don't want that information to be sitting there. So it's going to automatically time out and sign them out. Right. So by default, this feature, when it comes out here in March in preview, but then late June to late August, it will be off by default, and then you can go into org settings and then be able to change what you want to have for that idle timeout, right? Brian, that's a great question. I think every company is a little bit different in how they do that. A lot of times, you want to talk with your security. So the question is really around, what do you think that timeout should be? Check with your security people. A lot of times they have an opinion, right? And every security organization is a little different on how they approach things. So, all right, let's move from Office 365 to specifically Exchange Online. And there is a new feature coming out here right now, and it's coming out in the semi-annual channel, which is due out in mid-July to late July for organizations that are on that channel selection. So basically, this is a mail tip. And more specifically, it's about accessibility issues within the email that you're sending out, right? So it could catch things like if you have an image in there and you don't have alt text, or you don't have specific things set up for it to make it easier for people to be able to read that email, right? Especially if they need that accessibility piece. So it's an accessibility checker. This is going to be enabled by default, right? And this is for your Outlook desktop clients that would be getting this. So it's going to be on by default, right? It's just going to come out, it's going to come on, and then you can adjust it after the fact, right? You go to File, Options, Ease of Access, and Accessibility. Just make sure that you let your users know that when they see that banner, and that banner being this banner right here, right? To reveal accessibility issues, they click on that, it brings up the specific information, and then they're able to make those adjustments as needed. You can obviously disable it or enable certain parts of it if needed. All right, moving to SharePoint. So SharePoint is getting a little bit of an update, especially those SharePoint sites that are connected to Teams. Specifically, channel site layouts and parent site settings. This is happening here, targeted release for those who are on that ring, mid-April to late April, so it's happening right now, and then standard release for everybody else, early May to late May. And so there's really two updates. The first one is really about the layout. So when I build and do a new Teams area for my group, right, this is what the layout's going to look like. It's a lot different than what we currently have. We don't have that getting started links. The documents are way down on the bottom. Activity takes main focus. So this makes it a little bit easier to find those important things that most people are utilizing from a SharePoint side for that team, right? So the second update is around the relationship between Teams connected sites and hub sites, right? So if I have a hub site, we have that hub parent-child relationship we have here. It's going to start inheriting more because we have this connection, right? So the hub site associates manage that parent level for the entire team for everything that's underneath it. Team connected site with that hub, that parent and child are going to inherit not only the navigation, but also the theme now. And this is, again, this is the team site that's now connected as part of that hub that we have set up. And then private channels, by the way, when this rolls out, it actually breaks that connection you may have already done or have with a hub site, and then recreate it or reconnect it. You'll be all set and running to go. So there's some administrative work that you have to make sure you do. Make sure you check out this message center to be able to get a little bit more details, and they have a lot more information about what's going on. All right, OneDrive and SharePoint Online. Sorry, I mistyped something. It should say pin shared libraries to quick access. So change in OneDrive, you're going to see, and this is going to start in targeted late March to mid-April, and then standard mid-April to late March, mid-April to late April. So you may have a lot of SharePoint sites that you work in. I know I do. And if you're in your OneDrive, you'll notice there's the quick access. And those are the most frequently ones that you get to. You'll now be able to start pinning the ones that are more important to you in that list. You also have this area called the more places. And that more places is everything that you have got connected. So either you're going to see it in the quick access or in the more places. And then you're going to be able to go into, as you see that second screenshot on the bottom there, pin to quick access. And that allows me to pin it right to the left-hand rail so that I have access to that information without having to look for it. So again, just another way to be able to get the information that you need more quickly in a better user experience. All right, still kind of on the SharePoint and OneDrive, but we're going to flip into the Microsoft Stream, which is that hybrid SharePoint and OneDrive thing. You'll now be able to edit, view and edit the video and audio file, the details inside those video and audio files. So targeted release mid-April to late April. We have standard into May to mid-June, and then GCC early July to late July. Right, so it's really two pieces to this puzzle. The first section is the about section, and that's where you can really go in. You can modify the title, the description, everything, but you have to have edit rights to do that. The viewer will be able to see everything, right? Everything, but they're not going to be able to make any of those edit change. The other piece that is nice about this is that you're going to be able to do a custom thumbnail. I know I've been waiting for this for quite a while, where you're able to take that in that video itself, and you don't have to go to that actual frame. You can grab that as an image for that particular video, or you can upload your own. Either one, you have that capability. Again, you need to be an editor and have edit rights to be able to do these changes, right? So make sure you guys have your knowledge base updated. Make sure your end users who have to manage and maintain these videos understand that they can do this. And I agree, Adam. Yes, for that last one, they actually mentioned GCC, and they did that a couple times this round, but it's not consistent. So yeah, I'm not what you can do about that. All right, let's move to Teams, and we do have a few of them that are on Teams. The first one is on Microsoft Teams Rooms on Windows. If you guys remember, we actually have two flavors for Teams Rooms, and these are the devices used in conference rooms and that support Microsoft Teams. So this one is specifically to Windows, and it's an update that's coming out. And this is something that, as I've been talking to customers that I work with, they're really keen on being able to get what are the new features coming. And this is something that's called public preview. And it's been in Teams for quite a while in general, but it has not been available in the Microsoft Teams Rooms side of Teams. Well, this update coming here in early, about right now, right, early April to late April, is that 4.12 update that's going to go to the application itself. And that's going to give us the ability to be able to put a device into public preview ring, and it would get those updates couple weeks prior to moving to general availability for that particular product. So things in this 4.12 update, besides the public preview, we also are able to do some settings within the XML that helps with the configuration. So we can do things like room display resolution and scaling. We can do the disable noise suppression, override download folder. We even be able to, and by the way, Adam, there's another reference here to GCC, but it's GCCH. But enable users to join Teams meetings hosted in other clouds, such as government clouds. And so the other one is a security measure, and I think this was important, and one I have a couple customers that are really keen on, is that if you're in like a PowerPoint Live, like I'm in right now, and there's a link, and you click on that in a Teams room, that actually would open up in Teams on that room, and that could be a security issue. Right, so we don't want that kind of stuff to happen. So that's some of the improvements that are coming out for the Microsoft Teams rooms on Windows. All right, in the Teams Admin Center, we have some updates that are happening here early April to early May, and especially for organizations that are doing Teams Phone or Teams Telephony, and they have voice-enabled employees. So they have a phone number associated to that particular user in Teams. Basically, now you have this ability to be able to do more around call forwarding and setting up the simultaneous ring settings in the Teams Admin Center. Outside of that, you'd actually have to be in that desktop for that person to be able to make these changes or walk them through that. Now you're able to do those changes in Teams Admin and send that out, and then it will get updated at the desktop level. All right, so then another one that I have some colleagues of mine that are already starting to use this, and this is the Teams Soft Focus and Adjust Brightness. So we're talking about the video here that you're seeing from me. So I would be able to go in there and be able to change this so it looks a little bit softer as far as my look. Or if I'm in a very bright location, it would adjust accordingly so that the lighting is not as bad, right? So I agree. It's been a long time coming. So those are the two effects that are coming, and they'll all be in the settings and devices and camera section. And then if you go into the meeting itself, if you go into device settings, you'll see that from there. But really set that up at the desktop level to be able to get that. And make sure you notify your users that this is happening. Again, early April to mid-April, so it's probably out. You're getting close. Yeah, Brian, I do think Teams filters are coming soon. I can't tell you when that's going to be happening. All right, Teams users. So you know that in Teams, that part of Teams is the ability to be able to request an app or to add apps in there. And those could be third-party apps or even internal apps that are pushed out into Teams. So there's an update for user requests that are happening here. Late April to early May, this is happening. A user can request an app from a Teams app store, just like normal. But in that app store, you're going to start to see apps that are blocked. And the way you're going to see that designation is there's going to be a little lock icon that's going to be a part of that logo, right? So you see the examples that I have up there. And even though it has that lock, the user can still put in that request for approval. That can be denied. Again, it's based off of the administrator's way they're going to be able to handle that, and then they can go through their own process. But then that administrator, if they choose to move forward with that, they can actually release it right there within the admin console. So it's a little bit better solution as far as how to be able to enable apps that are blocked, and for end users to see, well, I don't have access to that one, so maybe I need to find an alternative of an app that's not blocked. Those types of options. And we just started talking about Loop, right? So we have, this is coming in Teams chats as you were kind of seeing that, but it's all this back-end piece of it. It's coming up soon. Unfortunately, the Message Center didn't tell me when. So just so you know, you do have those capabilities. The change is really going from that fluid components to loop components, and that's really the biggest change that this particular Message Center post is saying. as he was talking about, the items are stored in OneDrive, easily shared from there, that they can be used in multiple locations. But right now, this one is talking about Teams chat and be able to access it from there. Just make sure you update your documentation on that. All right, another Microsoft Teams. So one of the features that we have within Microsoft Teams is the ability to be able to create tags for a team, a channel and a team. The problem has been is what happens if a tag accidentally gets deleted? Well, this particular update will help you with that. So adding a restore option to the manage tags tab allows you to be able to then restore something that was deleted. So you'll notice that in the screenshot there, you'll have your tags assigned to you, you have other tags, and then you'll have a deleted tag section where then you're going to be able to restore if you need to. And this is for your desktop, Windows, and Mac clients. You just literally can be able to go in there and make those changes from there. I do have some or have an employee that just keeps removing stuff from a tag. Yeah, that's another option too. Yes, and that does happen. There's some quick mentions that are happening, and these are not as huge, but there's still things to keep in mind. The ones I really want to talk about are I'll just pinpoint a couple of them. So the first one on the left, the service health dashboard refresh. There's some changes in how they're displaying an issue that is happening within Teams, or I should say within Office 365 overall. And what does it do? Any active issues are going to be on the first section. After that, you're going to see any other service status. And on top of that, if you have an issue that is affecting multiple services, it will tell you that directly. In the past, they would have different issues, incidents that are happening for each of the different services if they're multiple were affected by it. The other thing I want to point out too is if you're utilizing Microsoft Information Protection, there is an update happening here on your sensitive information types, and you're going to get some updates in a couple of them. Specifically, they called out Slovakian passport number, U.S. driver's license number, and a couple other ones that are going to give you a little bit more definition and be able to filter and be able to see that information a lot easier. In the Teams side of things, there's a couple other ones that are coming from the Teams, but from Teams, specifically admins, go check it out. You're going to be seeing the device store showing up in your Teams admin center, where you can literally go and buy a device from that store, from their and automatically it'll be associated to your tenant by just going through that option. I think a couple other, another one, I thought this was a big one, especially for some of you guys who are utilizing Project Online or even using Project Web, this one here. What I find interesting on this particular one is that, whoops, let me go back. And it doesn't want me to get rid of that. All right, that's fine. Is that even if you have E3 and E5, you need to have project license associated to be able to do any task updates or any of that kind of that project management side of things, right? And you're not the project manager, you're just updating tasks. So what this is going to happen is if you don't even have to have that license, that project for web license anymore, just because you have an E3 or E5 license, you have it now. So then you'll be able to go in there, make updates to that particular task, and then you can move forward, that the project manager will get that information and we're good. So make sure you update your documentation on that. There we go. A couple things, meeting support for Firefox. There's another one, there was another post that says they had expanded meeting support for Edge. Some more capabilities in Edge, but this one's big because now you can actually do full audio and screen sharing in Teams on Firefox. And then I did want to mention presenter mode. There is a capability coming out here fairly soon where you'll be able to actually adjust the video feed size. So my, my floating head, if I go into presenter mode like this, right, I can actually adjust the size of who I am and the position on the screen so that maybe it doesn't work so well on this corner. Maybe I need to push it onto the other side, those types of things. All right. A couple updates that are happening, and these are ones, these changed. And typically when these come through, it's sometimes it's maybe more content that's going to be added to the message center description. Sometimes it changed, like the physical timeline changes. In these cases, these three, the timeline changed. So create and manage Power Apps from Microsoft list within Microsoft Teams. So the ability to be able to create a Power App directly from a Microsoft list. This is moved. Right now it's late March to early April, which it should be out now for most of you, hopefully, but you never know. You may be on the tail end of that. The other one is Microsoft Teams now follow the Microsoft 365 preview users, and this is specifically for Mac. So there is in Office 365, there's a preview ring, and now Microsoft Teams in that will also follow that ring. And then finally, music on hold for one-on-one VoIP calls. And that's just a teams to teams call. That should be coming out. It was supposed to be happening here in late March to early April. Now it's pushed back to mid-April. So just a little bit more timing on that. And then your administrators will be able to configure that hold music for one-to-one VoIP calls. And as always, there's always some admin actions. The one I'm going to highlight, the first big one here, this is happening soon, everybody. June 15th, IE 11 desktop app retires. So make sure that you guys are working towards this and getting that dealt with. Remember, there's capabilities around being able to do IE mode in Edge to be able to suffice and work with that, but you do have to test it ahead of time. That's the biggest one that I have a lot of customers that are fretting over. The plus addressing, this is a big one too. There was a change that happened. So plus addressing came out earlier, and it gives you the ability to be able to, by default, if I have my email address, in this case, I'm using the example, meganb@contoso.com, and I want to have another kind of a pseudo inbox, I can do a plus address and go Megan B plus marketing, and that's a different email address, right? It comes in to my regular email address, but I give it out as something completely different or something different. And so by default, that was enabled automatically. And there was a lot of feedback, not positive feedback, but feedback that said, hey, we want to be able to disable that. And that's this change that's happening, right? Also, administrators, there is going to be an update to the time to live portion of your MX records, so DNS records. So make sure that you take a look at that. The maximum you can do is 6 hours now, and that's changed down. So make sure that you make those appropriate changes. We have an upgrade in Power BI Workspaces V1. That happened a little while ago, but make sure that you have that all kind of settled, because starting on May 15th, they're going to delete any of those workspaces that are not designated as exempt and that are empty, right? So if you haven't made any changes, make sure you get those kind of taken care of. And then the last one I'm going to mention for now is the TLS certificate changes are happening here, but I want you to, so action by June 30th, 2022. So make sure you're getting ready for that. All right, I did see somebody had their hand raised up. Is that a question, Eileen? Throw it in the chat if you want to. And in the meantime.
There we go. I unmuted finally.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Hi. I don't have chat for some reason on this one.
Okay.
Why? Okay. We have been waiting impatiently for co-organizer on Teams meetings.
Yeah.
And you're not putting up the notice that it was delayed. When did they announce it was delayed, and when is it actually coming?
That's a great question. I have to go look and see, because I haven't seen anything recently. At least the last time I was going through this. So let me go and take a look at that, Eileen, and I'll throw it in the chat after I take a look at it.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I know. Co-organizer is a big piece of a lot of the meetings, and especially if you want to do anything from a webinar perspective, having more than one person can control that. It's good to have that. So absolutely.
You're being begged.
Yeah, I know. I have a lot of customers on that side as well.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Eileen. Oh, thank you, Joel. So you beat to me first. Nice. Okay, that's all I have, Michelle. So back to you.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think we're going to move right into our next topic.